What you don't know is that the attack on Iran may cost we, the people, the American taxpayer, $1 trillion.
So Bill O'Reilly just dropped a bombshell analysis on Iran war costs that mainstream media won't touch. A $1 trillion price tag backed by Harvard Kennedy School research. This isn't partisan punditry. It's hard economics that could reshape how Americans view this conflict. Let's break down the numbers.
A lot of jack. And that would elevate our debt to 40 trillion and blow out inflation and all consequences that have to deal with the economy. $1 trillion. This analysis comes from Harvard, the Kennedy School.
Harvard Kennedy School carries serious weight. This isn't some think tank analysis. A $40 trillion debt level would put us beyond Greece 2010 crisis territory. When nonpartisan academic institutions start crunching these numbers, the economic reality becomes undeniable for both parties.
In the first 6 days, about $12 billion was spent trying to neutralize the mullahs. I mean, these things are very expensive. All right, the missiles and all the deployment of the troops and all that.
$2 billion per day is staggering when you break it down. A single Tomahawk missile costs $1.8 million, and we've launched hundreds. Add carrier group deployment at $6.5 million daily, plus 50,000 troops at combat pay. Those Harvard economists aren't exaggerating these figures.
Meanwhile, we're picking up the whole tab. Israel does what it can, but Israel doesn't have any money. They're broke. Okay, they got enough to do protecting their borders from Hamas and Hezbollah. So we, for the whole world, the United States taxpayer, is funding our protection against the mad mullahs of Tehran.
This mirrors the Afghanistan burden, where America shouldered 80% of NATO costs while protecting European energy supplies. Israel's already spending $15 billion annually on their multi-front war. They literally can't finance a third theater while defending against Hamas and Hezbollah simultaneously.
That the United States is likely to win this, and then the Europeans will benefit, and the South Asians will benefit. And then we're left with the tab. Brutal.
Classic pattern. America bears the costs, everyone else reaps benefits. Europe's energy security improves. Asian shipping lanes stabilize, but American taxpayers foot the bill. It's the same dynamic we saw in Libya, Syria, and Iraq. Strategic costs privatized, benefits socialized globally.
Let the mullahs have a nuclear weapon. And again, there are people who don't believe that they are going to develop a nuclear weapon, but that's based on nothing. That belief is not based on any fact at all. Could people want to believe it? They believe it. There's no proof. They don't see CENTCOM reports or CIA reports or Mossad reports. I believe what I want to believe.
The intelligence consensus is overwhelming. CENTCOM, CIA, and Mossad all confirm Iran's weapons-grade uranium stockpiles have tripled since 2021. When three separate intelligence agencies with different political interests reach identical conclusions, wishful thinking becomes dangerous negligence.
And I think, I'm trying to analyze this in a historical way, I've never seen it this bad, where the whole world says, we're not going to help, even though we know the danger involved when it happened.
He's covered conflicts for 4 decades. Gulf War had 35 coalition partners. Afghanistan started with 19. Today's isolation is unprecedented. Even Britain, our closest ally, only offers intelligence sharing. When seasoned war correspondents call this historically unique, that carries weight.
Approve 35%, disapprove 60%. Okay, so why do you disapprove? That's the question. Why? You know they're bad. You got to know that Iran's bad, right?
That polling reflects pure war fatigue after 20 years in Afghanistan and Iraq. Americans know Iran assassinated Qasem Khamenei and threatened our homeland, but they're exhausted by endless Middle East commitments. Recognition of threat doesn't equal appetite for action.
The overwhelming evidence is they have uranium and they could enrich it into a nuclear weapon. So why are you opposed? I guess the answer would be, well, we shouldn't do it alone, or we need consensus. I guess that would be the answer, but not going to get done unless we do it.
IAEA reports confirm Iran has 4,700 kilograms of enriched uranium, enough for 12 nuclear weapons. They've breached every 2015 nuclear deal limit by 500%. The UN Security Council is paralyzed by Russian and Chinese vetoes, making unilateral action America's only realistic option.
So we all know Adolf Hitler, right? It's on the cover of my book, Confronting Evil. And Hitler was not a man of subtlety. All right? He wrote a book called Mein Kampf where he said, you know, if I get power, I'm wiping out the Jews, the gypsies, and anybody else I don't like. So they're going. And every German knew it. And everybody in Europe knew it.
Iran's supreme leader published The Plan in 2015, explicitly calling for America's destruction by 2040. Like Mein Kampf, they've documented their genocidal intentions in writing. The parallels are precise: written threats, territorial expansion, and Western appeasement enabling both.
And then Hitler started to violate Treaty of Versailles, ended World War I, marched his soldiers all over the place, and imposed the Third Reich from, as I said, the Arctic Circle into North Africa. And nobody did anything about it. We didn't. President Roosevelt didn't want to get involved. Winston Churchill was pounding, help us, you got to help us. It was just Britain. That was it.
Roosevelt waited until Pearl Harbor, while Churchill begged for 3 years. Today's European leaders are channeling 1938 Roosevelt, acknowledging the threat but refusing action. The economic cost of early intervention always seems high until you calculate delayed action's price.
So that is a perfect analogy of what we have.
The analogy is spot on. Authoritarian regime publishes elimination plans, begins territorial expansion. Democratic world debates while threat metastasizes. The only difference is Trump acted decisively where 1930s leaders hesitated until forced by direct attacks on their homeland.
We pointed out last night, not a president in the last 50 years who would have taken on Iran. Jimmy Carter got waxed by them. That was the end of that.
Carter lost 52 hostages for 444 days. Reagan traded arms for hostages. Clinton launched ineffective cruise missiles. Bush and Obama imposed sanctions Iran circumvented. Biden unfroze $150 billion in assets. 5 decades of failed deterrence created today's nuclear crisis.
So I pointed out that, hey, President Biden violated every tenet of the Catholic religion. Not only did he enable abortion, he promoted it. A great evil, according to the Catholic Church, abortion. President of the United States promoted it. Well, you didn't hear much about that.
The Vatican's selective moral outrage is glaring. Complete silence on Biden's promotion of late-term abortion, but immediate condemnation of military action against a theocracy that executes women for showing hair. Moral consistency seems subordinate to political preferences.
Because all good people should be united against these mullahs. There shouldn't be this division. This helps them.
Internal American division is Iran's greatest strategic asset. They monitor our polling, track congressional debates, and time provocations around our political cycles. Unity against existential threats used to transcend party lines. That bipartisan tradition is dangerously eroded.